Up next, we have Elizabeth Miller. Elizabeth Miller has influenced Northwest Arkansas's art and culture scene for over a decade. The founding registrar at Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, Elizabeth spent 8 years involved in developing and overseeing the initial move-in and installation of the museum's art collection. In 2019, Elizabeth joined Oz Art, NWA, serving as Director of Collections and Exhibitions, where she has worked to make amazing art a part of everyday life in Bentonville. And if you've been walking around, you can see that everywhere. Elizabeth received her BA from Sewanee, the University of the South, and her MA in Museum Science from Texas Tech University.
Awesome. Hi. Welcome to Bentonville, Arkansas. I hope you guys have enjoyed your time. Sorry it's been a little bit rainy, but hopefully you've been able to walk around a bit. As Ashley said, we work to make amazing part of everyday life. We're really wanting to meet people where they are so that they're seeing these amazing things as they're encountering their daily life. You see this a lot on the side of buildings. I hope you guys have seen our Stefan Sagmeister, which we installed last year on the side of the parking deck right next to this building. Quite an undertaking. We have murals as well. There's one by Wheezy here, Nina Chanel Abney, and the artist Mantra, which is on the back of the 21C. I believe some of you all are staying there. So we're really, in some ways, working outside, literally on the walls. I think this is the direction I'm going. Oh, no, wrong way. You also find us outdoors in other spaces. We loan artworks to museums here in town, and they're amazing partners. You see the Yayo Kusama that is on the south lawn of Crystal Bridges. Lovely to install this in water. It makes it a lot easier than you're trying to install it on land. And then you have our Yinka Shona Bar that is at the front entrance of the Momentary. We also are trying to meet people where they're outside doing recreational activities. So we have artwork on mountain bike trails like the K. Rosenberg and the Sam Falls wind chimes that you see in the bottom corner. I'm going to say it's complicated, putting art out in the woods. Wildlife is an interesting factor that I never had to consider previously, but it makes life interesting. You're also going to find us indoors. So we have a lot of private spaces around town where we have art. You may have seen the large Walton Ford downstairs in the lobby. That is one work from our collection, while the rest in this building is not ours. But we have a wellness club in town that has over 100 works from our collection. We put it in private offices and in guest houses. And then some more complicated spaces that you may have seen around town. Yes, that is a unglazed Amon Orgeron sculpture or painting above a bar. That is a glazed, this time, Crosby, that was in a restaurant. And then our Kahende Wiley, that is also unglazed and in a bar. That the glazing didn't fit through the door. So, you have complications such as that. So there are challenges that we face. We are literally in the public space every day. People is a challenge you see. You see artworks that are knocked off the wall occasionally, bumps by catering companies, that sort of thing. I would say most of our damage comes through shipping. A lot of that, most of our collection are new acquisitions, and we are a small team. A lot of times we are trusting galleries to pack artworks or artists to pack artworks. Artists should never pack their own artwork is all I'm saying. So we've done a lot of learning through that process. But then there's weather. When we have storms come through Arkansas, I am up at 2 a.m. not worrying about my house, but worrying about how X, Y, and Z sculpture is going to last. When we put the Stefan Sagmeister on the side of the building, we had all the engineering reports and all of that, but until you see how it does in 80-mile-an-hour winds, you're just not sure what's going to happen. We also face other challenges, such as environmental conditions. None of our spaces are temp and humidity controlled to the rate that you would want an institution. That being said, our biggest challenge is light. And I'm throwing it out there for you. You're seeing some direct sunlight on some artworks, and you're seeing the damage caused by that. That Palo Pivi on the bottom was commissioned from the artist to go in a lit stairwell. Within 6 months, it had faded to this point that you see it now. We know these things, and it's a constant battle and acceptance, and knowing that we can have that bear refeathered in 6 months if we want to, or in 10 years if we want to, and we just have to decide what it is we want to do with that artwork. We also kind of look to see what solutions we can find. Nothing, I'm sure, outside the realm of what you all do as well. We leash a lot of artworks. We put on safety hardware. We use shades. I'm installing shades in buildings left and right these days, and we work on to set up systems so we're not having to trust people to pull them. So we have automatic systems that pull the shades at certain times of day. We get creative. So we have this lovely portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which we really wanted on view all the time. So we leaned into it, and we worked with a framer to create a maybe ironic curtain to go over it so that people can engage with the artwork, but they can still see it themselves. But the key, really, back to what Alice said, is communication. We are in constant communication with the teams that are in these spaces that our artwork is. They know us by sight. They know to call us. They have our phone numbers. They call us at 2 a.m. if something goes wrong. So, yes, I spent 10 years of my life in the museum world. So what is really the difference between museum world and public art world? There's not a lot, and then there is a lot. You all are keeping art in the public trust. I'm caring for an asset for my investors. So at the end of the day, if they want to sell that, it has to be in a condition that they could. Security, you guys have amazing security in your institutions. I have no one. We are trusting in the public, and we're trusting in the bar staff where our artwork is, that they're taking it into consideration. Education, you guys are educational institutions. We are not. That is not part of our mission. That is not part of our job. We are a for-profit. Some of our artwork is up for interpretation. We have wonderful curators, Chad Alligood is here in the room, who are helping us kind of develop some more label context and that sort of thing, but essentially that's not what we're here to do. Aesthetics win in museum life. We're gonna plan for the worst case scenario. That means we're gonna take an artwork that an artist doesn't want a frame on, and we're gonna put a frame and put glazing on it so that artwork still exists in 10 years. It may not be ideal, but in our view, that's what we need to do to take care of it. You all work with artists. We do too. At the end of the day, sometimes the artist is not going to get the end word. We're going to work with them to get to the yes and to find a solution so that we can safely exhibit their artwork and that it will last more than 6 months. We push artists a lot of ways but I think it's a fun relationship, and we've stretched them and stretched ourselves in a lot of ways. We all have insurance. Ours goes up. And we all deal with conservators. Maybe. What are the risks? We're in bar spaces. We're in restaurants. Food and drink. So we have physical damage that can happen from that. We see it a lot more when we're looking at artworks that are glazed, because you can really see the splashes on the surface. The possibility of infestation, knock on wood, we have not had that issue so far. As I said, light is our biggest factor. We have art in spaces that people want to be. People are like plants. They want natural light. And so we really have to figure out how to exist in the same space. Environmental fluctuations, it happens for us, again, mostly it's related to light. So we've had frames, stretchers tweak because of the heat that's caused from the light. And so we're having to think about what artwork we're putting on spaces and what the risk is. Again, I said weather. Wildlife, I mean, have any of you guys had a deer run into your sculpture? I'm just asking. Yep, Jennifer has. I knew it. She's here in Arkansas as well. Human intervention, mostly accidental. People are in spaces, they're co-working spaces where we are. So you have your work bag on your back, and suddenly 3 paintings have been knocked off the wall. We have leashes. They're not actually coming off the wall. But there is the occasional on purpose. For us, we've been really lucky. There's only one instance I can think of vandalism for an artwork, and that was a mural, and that was tagging. And luckily, that's really easy to remove. But we have found that by putting trust in people, that they are respecting us in a way that we were really happily surprised by. And then, so what are the benefits? For us, it's really accessibility. We are putting art out there where people are going to see it. Institutions are amazing, but they are someplace you have to go. If I'm getting a cup of coffee and I happen to be able to look up and see an amazing artwork, that is a whole different experience. Exposure for us and for our financial group, it is a benefit to us to provide that exposure to artwork. Innovation, we're having to work to figure some shit out. And so we hope that we're pushing the field in a good way to do that. And then relationships. We're forming these great, amazing relationships with galleries, with artists, and with our community here on the ground as we work these things out. What would help? Innovation and access to framing, glazing, packing and shipping, trained professionals, and more public education. My colleagues here in Arkansas know we're on an island. It is 3 hours to the nearest sculpture conservator. Art transit does not come through here on a regular basis. Now, it's better than when I started at Crystal Bridges in 2008. We do get shuttles through here, but it's still, we're an afterthought. So a lot of times we're taking receiving trucks on weekends or on nights when they can make it through. There is no packing company here. And so if we need a crate fabricated, we have to build that timeline in, and we also have to have staff who knows how to take the dimensions, who knows how to get that information to the crating company so that we can have that made. Frankly, trained professionals outside of Crystal Bridges and us, that's it. Well, Art Bridges, excuse me. Sorry. Art Bridges wasn't in the landscape when I was at Crystal Bridges. There's nobody, but there's no consultants. If I need an extra hand to help install, we're looking at bringing installation crews in from the DFW, from Kansas City, that sort of thing. And frankly, just more public education. When Crystal Bridges opened its doors in 2008, the population here had never been to a museum. And so they didn't know how to interact in that space. And so it's been an education that the museum has been doing and that now we're doing in public spaces. So what have we done? We hired amazing people. We are a small team. We are 5 people. I will put my preparator up against any of yours. He is a badass and he gets shit done. We got our own truck. We can't rely on being able to have something that we can shuttle around town. And frankly, we found an amazing framer in Kansas City. We want to be able to have the flexibility to take things up there when we need to. We found professionals that we can rely on within the 3-hour radius. So if we have an emergency, we can call them. We have, 3 hours is Kansas City, 6 hours is DFW. We have amazing people we can call on, particularly conservators. We've started working out in the process. So I work with a lot of developers. I'm working on 3 hotel projects right now. We work with the designers at the start now to start thinking about things like windows and blinds and making sure the wall has blocking in it so that we can hang heavy things on it, and thinking about those things farther out in the process. So often art is the afterthought. Hey, we finished this beautiful building. Let's add some art. The planning that needs to go in it, I finally got them to understand, needs to come years before. We formed relationships. So with our institutions here in town, but also with the servers at the restaurant. The servers at the restaurant know my preparator on site. They will call him if they see something wrong. I had a guest house manager bring a picture to me because they thought an Ai Weiwei in a private restaurant had been moved slightly. They wanted to show it to me. They know to reach out to us. And then we find the way to the yes, because at the end of the day, I don't often have the ability to say no. So if my ownership wants something done, we figure out a way that we can do it safely for the artwork, or they understand the risks associated and they accept those risks. Is it worth it? I think so. I think we've done some pretty cool things. I think we're getting out into the public and we're doing it in a safe way that we can. But we are definitely, I wasn't able to make it yesterday, but I do think we're like the shock factor here. Like, this is not the ideal way to do any of our jobs, but we're still making it happen, and I think we're doing it well. So I hope you've enjoyed your time in Bentonville and been able to see some of our artwork.
Thank you.